Welcome to the Covered Podcast. I am your host, Mike Wren, and on this show we discuss women and how we are showing up in the world. Today's guest is Gabriela Danelle. Gabriela creates content surrounding cooking, fashion, motherhood, and hair care. She has worked with Aveda, Tosswear, and Shark Beauty. Gabriela is a wife, mother, and a lover of Christ. Please welcome Gabriela Danelle. Thank you so much for having this conversation. So let's just go ahead and get started. I came across your journey, and so you have shared your journey to a soft, feminine, vintage, glamorous life. You have two beautiful children, and you are married to your best friend. You have a beautiful home, and of course, the beautiful dresses, which I love. But your life has not always looked like this, and you have not always lived like this. So I wanted to have a conversation with you. I just want to set the stage, and let's start where you think it is appropriate with your childhood. I do want to let some of our younger viewers know for this portion of the conversation, please watch with an adult, someone that you can trust, or anyone that you're able to ask questions to. So Gabriela, I leave the stage to you.
Thank you so much, Myron, for having me on. It is an honor. This would be the first time that I'm sharing my story here on a platform like this, so I'm super excited.
Of course.
I initially started making content around 7 years ago. And so it has been quite the journey. I think that if anyone remembers where I started with hair videos and makeup videos. And then when I became a mom in 2022, that's when things really started to change with my content and how I was presenting, just because becoming a mom is just so life altering. And so it's been a really precious journey, and I've been so blessed and honored to be able to share this journey with my audience. I was born in the Bronx. If we're going all the way back, I was born in the Bronx. My parents are both from the Dominican Republic, and so I come from a beautiful family of immigrants. And having that culture has always been really special to me. And at around 4 years old, that's when we moved to New Jersey. So I wasn't we had a lot of proximity with the city, but I also got kind of the best of both worlds with living in the city and living in the suburbs at the same time. But most of my family was, in the Bronx and Washington Heights, and our church was in the Bronx. And so I felt like I really had the best of both worlds in that sense. On paper, I guess you can say my upbringing was great and perfect on paper. My parents are two phenomenal people, super hardworking, super kind, God-fearing. They taught me so much, and I owe so much of who I am today because of them. Um, but I think that where things got a little bit hairy for me was when, as one of my earliest memories, I was, I guess you can say, sexually assaulted by a family member over the course of several years. And so while everything was great on paper, like I said, I think having that backdrop to my childhood was something that was probably the most impactful in a negative sense as a child. And I think that growing up with that was probably the hardest thing as a kid, because, like, I mean, you're a kid. Imagine, like, you're trying to play and learn what this life is about, and then you just have to kind of grapple with the intense amount of shame that comes from that experience. And so, I guess I'm starting there because I feel like I wouldn't be who I am today without learning from that experience. And I think I remember when I shared this story for the first time on social media, it has to be maybe like 8 months ago. Fairly recent. I wasn't really sure how to bring that up on an online kind of context because it is such a sensitive topic. And I know it can be triggering for some people who have walked through similar experiences, but it felt important because I've always shared my life and I've always shared the things that go well. And I receive a lot of messages from girls saying, wow, like your life seems perfect. And I wish I had your life. And what did you do to get such a perfect, like a lot of messages honing in on like the perfect in my life. But really, I think if anyone knew where I come from, they would know that this life isn't perfect. It's full of pain and growth, and that's where I come from.
And you said that you were four.
Mm.
That is very young So while this was going on, you were 4. While this was going on, did you have the vocabulary? Were you able to articulate this to anyone?
No, no, actually, I didn't tell a soul until I was 14. And that was I told my parents at 14 and they were devastated. But I think that as a kid, I especially the way that it had been presented to me by this older child that was living with us in our home, um I didn't I really didn't have a sense of, like, this is something you need to tell someone because it was told to me as a game, and
Okay.
I felt complicit in it, for lack of a better word, because I didn't really have a context in terms of why this felt so bad and why it felt so shameful. Um, but so I just buried it. I just didn't wanna tell anybody, and I think that worsened it for me because what it did as a kid was that it made me super insecure. It made me super, I guess you can say closed up because naturally I was a very vibrant kid. I loved people. I couldn't stop talking sometimes, and I would even it's funny because one trip to the Dominican Republic that I went with my family, when I was 7, I wanna say, I, like, had a camera and, like, I was just like, "Okay, guys, so good morning, so we're gonna do this," and, like, I my parents still have this video, and, like, it's funny looking back on it because it's like, man, like, I was, like, creating content at, like, 7
You
years old
were.
for
You
my
absolutely
family.
were.
So it was like I had inherently that personality, but I believe that shame and that pain made me believe that my personality had to be closed up. And so what it did as a kid was that it made me very timid. I when it came to speaking to adults especially, I like for whatever reason I would feel super closed up and shy and it felt in a way shyness isn't bad, but I think that the shyness that I felt was tethered to this pain and the shame. And I think what it did for me as a kid was that it distorted my perspective of life being good and exciting because it felt like I'm going to live with this shame forever. Like it just was so part of my existence as my earliest memory. It just made me believe that this is what life is about. And I think having that context for me, it was almost like as an adult looking back on it, I feel like now when I talk about finding the romance in life and finding beauty in the mundane of life, I feel like my context is that, you know, it was really impossible for me to find the good in life because I just felt so bad about it all the time and I didn't have the vocabulary for that. So now looking back on as it on looking back on it as an adult, um, I feel like it's made me appreciate the little beauties in life more and appreciate living and enjoying life more. And that's really the root of the content that I make today.
That is actually a perfect segue to your preteen and your teenage years. So I feel like because I don't want to spend too much time on that because I know that can be traumatic for people and it can also be a traumatic experience. But that to me sounds like that actually set the stage for how your preteen and your teenage years started to happen.
Mm.
Because I remember in the video that you were talking about, you said that after your traumatic childhood, you had a very low view of boys and men. Is this and once you had that very low view, is that kind of how you moved through life, like with even adults, with boys, just at school, just in general with this very low view?
Yeah, I didn't even realize I had this low view until I became a teenager. And I guess that makes sense because when you're a kid, you're not really thinking so much about boys. I was just really thinking about having fun and trying to, do the things that kids do in school. When I became a teenager, that's when things started to change for the worse a little bit for me because I mean, I think everyone can know and testify that your pre-teenage years are probably the most awkward and the most
Absolutely.
trying because I mean, so many things are
Absolutely.
changing. So many things are changing. Like your body's changing, and then your hormones and your mood, and that was it for me totally. But then also, I'm also dealing with like the shame that I've been living with for years. And so while I was in that kind of transitionary season of just like my body changing and learning more about like the like crushes and stuff like that, like I feel like it made me look at boys with eyes of contempt because it was like,
Okay.
man, because you see the kids in school, the boys in middle school and the things that they say, and growing up, because I felt that insecurity, I believe it showed up a lot in the way I was presenting myself, especially in school, especially at 12 years old, at 13 years old, and in 8th grade I found myself in a situation where I was super shy, super insecure, and I think kids, they probably see that the easiest, especially mean kids. And what happened 8th grade year was that a lot of like these boys would start to target me like in the hallways. Like they would like I would it's funny, I would walk in the hallways and I would just look down and I wouldn't look at anyone. Like I would just walk and like the kids would make fun of me for that because I couldn't it was like I would just walk, like, closed up and just, like, looking down at the floor. It's kinda funny thinking about it because 'cause I'm like, I should have been, like, bumping into everybody doing that, but I was just, like, looking at the floor as I was walking because I didn't wanna look at anybody. And so the kids would make fun of me for, like, being that way, and then, like, the boys, what they would do was that they would run up behind me and, like, smack my butt in the hallway. And, like, it was a it was, like, something funny for them, a joke, but for me, it was like, "What what is going on?" Like, it's just like, "I'm not bothering you. I'm just trying to walk to class." And it turned into a situation that got worse and worse because I wasn't advocating for myself. I didn't stand up for myself. I didn't say anything. I just pretended it didn't happen and just tried to ignore it and hope that it would stop, but it would just get worse. Like, it was like in my classes, they would make comments about like the way my chest looks in a certain shirt because it's like your body's changing and they would say comments about that were like sexually insinuating. It was just like a constant like and it was like a group of like 5, 6 boys that were pretty popular in the grade. And so it felt almost like it was like weird for me because it was like it felt validating in a weird way because I'm like, "Oh, maybe these boys think I'm pretty, like, maybe they like me. Maybe that's why they're doing these things." Like, it didn't really register in my head that, like, this is wrong and what they're doing is wrong. It felt uncomfortable, but it also felt like, like, maybe this is how boys show that they like you. And so I didn't say anything. I kind of just would laugh about it and shrug it off, and I would joke back, in a way, it's like, "Oh, yeah, no, stop, you're stupid," whatever, like, I would kind of just shrug it off, but I think when it got worse and worse, escalating to messages, if anyone remembers, I mean, I don't I'm kind of like the earliest part of Gen Z, but back then we had AIM and we had Uvu.
Yes, we had that as millennials
Yes,
as well.
yes, I'm, like,
Yes.
right on the cusp of, like, Gen Z and millennials, but, back then we had Im and Ubu, and these boys, they would send me these messages, that and texts because I had a phone at the time, and they were all sexually insinuating, and I didn't say anything. I didn't have that, I believe I didn't have that attitude of, like, standing up for myself because I was so insecure, and so I accepted it in a lot of ways, and months went on, and it got worse and worse, and one day I was just crying about it because it got to the point that one of the boys who was kind of leading the cause, if you will, like, he started sending me these messages, and I'm like, "Okay, now, this doesn't seem right," and it would make me feel, really, really weird, and so I told my dad about it one day because I was like, "I don't wanna go to school tomorrow, like, I just feel really uncomfortable with what these boys are doing." And the way my dad went to bat for me, and that's one thing that, um, I think when looking back on it, when I think of, like, men and, like, the whole mindset that I had for many years of, like, all men suck and all boys suck and I hate guys and whatever, like, it was a guy that stood up for me like my dad really is a really special man. Like he really has a lot of qualities I admire. And he went to the school the next day and like he raised hell. Like he was just like, I need to speak to the principal.
He was
I
being a
have
dad.
Oh yeah,
Absolutely. He was
absolutely,
being a dad.
absolutely. Um and so he got the principal in there, he got the vice principal in there, and, he spoke to them, and I had no idea at the time. Maybe it's better that I didn't have a clue as far as what happens when a school finds out that something like that is happening, but they had to call, like, the police, and, like, there is a whole, like, court thing and everything. Like, it was really bad. I had no idea at the time that schools do have to escalate, once they find out that there's anything like sexual in nature happening. But it was hard because I think when you're taking a boy to court and the school really has to be the one to do that. I didn't want to. As soon as I heard that, I was like, I don't want to do this, but it was by then it was too late.
Right. For fear of retaliation, right?
Right. Right. Because the whole grade found out, and like all the girls. I mean, because again, these were the popular dudes, right? They're popular guys in school. Like all the girls were just they said the most horrendous things, saying that I was a liar, that I was making it all up, that I wanted attention. Like it was probably like one of those moments that you see in a movie and you're like, oh, okay, this is crazy. Like, how could this ever happen in real life? But it happened. I think we underestimate the power of influence and the power of popularity because these
Oh,
boys, they did terrible things to not just to me, but to other girls. But I think because they were so well liked, they were able to get away with it and defended for it. And so thankfully everything went well after the court trial. I don't really remember at the time as a kid, like, what, like, that looked like, um, but I definitely felt like my parents felt like justice was served in
okay.
that sense, and then after that year, my parents were like, "That's it, you're done, like, we're pulling you out of public school, this should have never happened," because it was happening in front of teachers, and the teachers didn't say anything, um, and so they put me into a private school after that year. They really pulled strings and made sacrifices to make that happen. And that's when they enrolled me into a private school that was Christian. And that experience alone was like, I feel like that was such a turning point in my life.
Perfect. That's actually a great point to stop because I do have a question for you. I'm trying to imagine the mental gymnastics or the way you had to compartmentalize because we're going from your traumatic childhood when you were 4 to now being a preteen with the boys harassing you and you having a very low view of men, but then a man who is your father, as he should, stood up for you. Those are three very different reactions or behaviors from men.
Mm,
Are you able to explain that? Like
mm.
how, like once your father stood up for you, did your view of men or boys change at all? Or because that was your father, it didn't change and you were maybe expecting it or you knew that he was going to protect you?
Yeah. I definitely felt like when my dad, because it wasn't just that instance, like in so many other instances of my life, he was such a pillar of just knowledge and
Okay.
wisdom for me and example that I believe that was my example of not all men are like this.
Okay.
And I
Okay.
th and I think that a big temptation for women that go through similarly traumatic experiences is that it is really easy to categorize men as just one thing. And for me, I'm so thankful and so glad that I did have my dad because I think if I didn't, things may have looked very different for
Okay.
me and the way that I would be interpreting the world around me.
Okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense. That makes sense. Okay. So let's talk about lifestyle, fashion, and love. When and why did you get on Instagram?
It's something that I had spent years thinking about. I thought about it a little bit in high school because I was a really big like consumer of like YouTube videos and beauty tutorials and Michelle Phan for the makeup girls out there. Like Michelle Phan was like my comfort creator. I would watch like all her beauty tutorials and I would think, wow, like this seems so cool to do. I would really love to do something like this. I had always been artistic. I loved to paint and draw. And there was just something that pulled me towards the creation of something. I just didn't know if it was going to be content necessarily. I thought of like being an art teacher, and then like I thought about being I eventually went to school to become a psychologist. Dropped out, by the way. I don't know if I'm getting too far ahead of myself, but I was always drawn to the art of just like um analyzing and creating and just like creativity. And I didn't anticipate, it wouldn't have been my first plan to be making content because it is a lot. But I think when I first uploaded that first video in college, I was like, let's just do it for fun. You know, I was like doing my classes and editing videos like in my free time. I was like, let's just see, let's just see where it goes. It's kind of fun to do. And
Let's
so
see what
I started
happens.
with that. Like videos did not like they were not pulling numbers at all. I think it was more so just like a small little hobby that I was doing. I believe they're still up on YouTube, unless I've tried to edit them. They're kind of embarrassing. But I had a lot of fun making them. And then when I got married, I started documenting that journey in 2020, and that's when I felt like I was drawing a little bit of an audience. I think people were really shocked that I was getting married at 23. I know that in some parts of the country that is not unusual, but here in the New York, New Jersey area, that really isn't typically seen. A lot of our friends, they get married after 30. So 23 was like our family was blown away. They were like, what is going on? You need to travel first. You need to establish yourself in your job first. Like you should not be getting married. My parents were on board, but the rest
Okay.
of our families, they really weren't that on board. And so we were like, no, we love each other. Because my husband and I, we met when we were younger at a Bible camp. And so we were friends for several years, and
Right.
we started dating our senior year of high school. So he didn't go to my high school. He went to another high school. Yeah,
Okay,
go
that's
ahead.
I was just getting ready to ask because I remember you said that that's when you met him. After your parents took you out of public school, you went to the Christian school and then you met your best friend and the love of your
Yes,
life.
yes, yeah, it's insane because we have been together now for 11 years, but I've known him for longer, and so it really is amazing to be able to do life with your best friend. We went to prom together, we did all those things, we dated through college, and then we got engaged, I want to say when we were 21, right after I graduated college, and then we did wedding planning for a year and a half around there, and then we got married at 23. And so that journey, I think attracted a little bit of an audience because they're kind of interested, like, how are you so young getting married? And I
Right.
think other girls who were getting married at that similar ages, they were drawn to that representation of like, oh, I see myself in this girl. And so I started making content about, what I was learning about being a young wife and some of the challenges and the fun stuff in that. And that was really fun for me to document because I felt like really more than my beauty content, that story was drawing more of an audience. And so when I got pregnant in 2022, that really drew an audience because like, oh, so you didn't just get married young, you're going
You're
there. Like
having a
you're gonna
baby.
have babies right
You're going to
away.
go there.
Yeah, I think a lot of people were kind of expecting us to wait a little bit, but we felt right. It felt right to start a family, and so that's where really content really started to grow for me was when I started telling that story.
Okay. So you got married at the age of 23 and you got married in 2020.
Yeah, 20. We got married 2020, and then we had to be our first 2022.
2022. Okay,
Yeah,
so 2020.
yeah.
I remember because I have looked at a few of your videos, of course, for the fashion, but also for your story. You talked about male attention a little bit and talked about a little bit for dressing for the male gaze, and you called it your baddie era for the likes and the attention.
Mhm.
I'm going to, I'm just going to ask the question. This was prior to getting married?
This was prior to get married. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay,
I was
okay,
dating my husband. This was in college, actually.
okay,
I want to say I was a freshman. I was freshly out of high school. I was maybe a freshman or a sophomore in college. So I was with my husband and it's funny, he would always tell me he didn't approve of, he's like, I don't know. But at the time I was like, I don't care. Like, you can't tell me what to wear. Like, I'm just going to wear what I want to wear. And so he was very
okay.
gracious. He was very gracious with me because it's not that I was looking for other men's attention because like he was my boyfriend and, but I think it felt almost like, and I think the girls that have walked through something similar may identify here, but it's like it feels almost validating in a wrong way when you're able to walk into a room and attract attention. And it's just attention. It's not like you want to actually be with these men, but I think it's like, oh, like they're looking at me. That must mean that I'm good. That I'm like, and I think that that was something I needed to work through was because
Yes.
in this journey of feeling that that healing process of the shame of when I was younger, it was a process of like learning, okay, like why am I doing the things that I'm doing? It started, I believe, when I was a teenager of like hiding, of like wearing the boys' clothes and kind of like hiding my body in that sense of like not attracting attention. But then I was like, okay, like this isn't working. So maybe I have to do the opposite and like find empowerment in that and find almost a confidence in that. And it did give me a vague sense of elation when I would attract that kind of attention. It felt positive. But then at the end of the day, I would feel almost like, oh, like I'm not so sure that this feels that great. And I think something that was super pivotal to me was when I was getting dressed for a Valentine's Day date with my boyfriend at the time, now husband. It was Valentine's Day. I picked the shortest and the tightest dress to go out in, and it's Valentine's Day in
It's
New
Valentine, right? It's
York.
Valentine's Day.
So it's freezing. And so it was freezing cold. I couldn't feel my legs. Like if I to give you a context, I probably have a picture of this dress somewhere around there, but it was short. And so and I'm tall. So if I bent down, like it would be over. It'd be over. But I went out anyway because I was like, I look good and whatever. And so I went out to the restaurant with my boyfriend, and he in the car, because he had already told me, hey, like I don't know if you should be wearing like such short things, tight things. Like, you sure you really want to wear that? And I'd be like, yeah, why? Like, why are you even like I had like the whole like attitude with him about it. But again, he's very gracious. So he's like, okay, all right. And so he's in the car and he's kind of like quiet, and I'm kind of like, why is he quiet? But he doesn't say anything. And so we get to the restaurant and we're sitting there and I'm drawing the attention, but for the first time, it didn't feel great at all. It actually made me feel really uncomfortable. And I didn't know why, because prior to that, I felt almost like, yeah, I look good. And like I felt like this sense of empowerment through it. But for the first time, without him even saying a word, I felt uncomfortable. And it wasn't because of anything he said or anything he did, because, he went on and he tried to make it the best date ever. But for whatever reason, I felt really uncomfortable. And so looking back on it, definitely feel like it was God, the Holy Spirit, who was kind of convicting me in that moment, because I believe everyone has that kind of turning point, those who know God and love him. And I think that for me in that moment, I was like, okay, yeah, this is the last time I'm going out like this. And that was the day that it was just like, no, this isn't happening anymore. And so that's kind of where I started kind of dressing in a way that made me feel happy, and in a way that kind of helped and supported my creativity with fashion, but wasn't so much in the sense of how much attention can I draw.
I'm so glad that you said that because actually, for season one, my very first guest, I don't know if you're familiar with her, it's Heal with Mare. And whenever I hear women's stories, they do talk about this light bulb or this conviction moment, and you just gave yours. But I notice, especially when it comes to dressing or maybe a woman's behavior, they've done it maybe 100 times. Maybe you wore that red dress 10 times, but that one time when they do that behavior or they put that piece of clothing on, they feel, just like you said, they feel so uncomfortable.
Mm,
They know that something isn't right.
yeah.
So I'm glad that you said that. I'm glad that you realized that. Do you think that, and you, like you said, your husband was gracious, and so was Marilyn's. Outside of that, because of what you had been through, do you think that there were other things that showed up in your relationship?
Yeah, that's a good question. I feel like in a lot of ways I would doubt his motives sometimes, and looking back on it, I think it was 100% um, my pain and my healing process. I would often ask him like, "Do you really love me?" Like, I felt, like, very insecure in, like, how he felt towards me, and it was almost like he wasn't giving me any reasons to doubt how much he loved me, but it was this sense of, what if he's one of the bad ones? Like, what if he isn't happy with what I look like physically, and what if he really wants me to look a different kind of way? Like, it was just a lot of insecurities in the first couple of years that we were together, and I would talk about it with him, and he would really walk me through it in a way that, looking back on it, I'm like, wow, you had a lot of wisdom as a young man. But God's really blessed us and really blessed him, and like I said, he's one of the good ones, and he's so gracious even to this day with me, and, um, it feels really special to have been able to walk through that journey with him. I know a lot of, couples, it's that could break a couple of, like, "Okay, like, this is too much," but I'm so thankful that he didn't decide this is too much, that he kept walking with me and he kept talking to me, and, um, that really was a huge portion of my healing process, was having someone who did it with me.
And did it with you, and there was no judgment. It sounds like he was placed into your life at the right time.
Yeah, yeah, and because it's like, I'm telling you, I would have never thought I would get married young. That was
Okay.
never something that I was told ever when I was younger, like, "Oh, you need to be married by X age," or whatever. Like, I had always envisioned myself as a career woman, you know? I was super straight A student, and, super, like, type A, like, I had my plans, and I didn't anticipate getting married younger. And so when the timing was right, so evidently right, I'm like, "This is the way for me."
Why not?
Yeah.
I think her name is Millie Bobby Brown. I know I'm missing her name. I don't know if you're familiar with her, but she's like very popular right now. And I think she got married, I want to say between like the age of like 21 to 25, and
Mhm.
there was this whole uproar about, she's too young.
Mm.
But I want to move to modest dressing. I wouldn't consider you to be me personally because I know modesty is a spectrum. I typically will hear like three different types: modest, modern modest, or conservative.
Mm.
Where do you think you fit on that scale? What is, because you're clearly very vintage and it's so glamorous and so beautiful. But if someone were to ask you or start having a conversation with you about modesty, where do you think you are on that spectrum?
Yeah, I find it a little bit, for me, it's definitely been a journey because I had a starting point and it's been a lot of growth and learning. I have had a hard time like differentiating, like, okay, like, how can I dress in a way that I like and that inspires me but doesn't feel like regulation, and like, oh, like my sleeves have to be this length, or like my collarbones. Like, I know, like you said, it's such a spectrum. And so what I tend to do when I'm getting dressed is I tend to think of like, what are my intentions when I'm putting this on? And so if I find that my intention in what I'm wearing feels, even if it feels a little bit uncomfortable, I'm like, let me not wear it. And that's just me, because I know it is a very personal experience, and it really depends on the person's heart and their motives. And so when I'm getting dressed personally, I'm thinking, okay, why am I putting this on? What kind of attraction will I get when I'm putting it on? And do I want my day to look like that? And so I kind of gauge my clothes with those 3 questions of like, what is this gonna do to my day, and how people are perceiving me, how they're kind of receiving me, especially and like, I hesitate here because like, I don't want anyone to think that like we need to dress because like we can't make men stumble, because I hate that. I hate that rhetoric. But I think that when it comes to reality, it's it's a part of reality that there are bad men out there, and they don't have great intentions. And I think with some of the things that we're seeing even now, when it comes to some of the things that men are faced with and some of the challenges that they have with the porn industry and all these things, it's like I don't want to give someone a reason to feed into that. And so I feel like it's a journey for me. I'm still learning, but I think especially with my context of what I experience and the negativities from men, it's like I'm constantly having to gauge of like, okay, like is this my conviction or is this my pain? And so that's been like a constant, like, I'm still learning for sure. I'm still learning. But I feel like because of that pain and that trauma, it's like, even though I believe I've been healed in a lot of ways, I still feel like there are some residual effects of like my perception of men and my perception of how people are perceiving me. And so I feel like that's made the conversation of modesty be even more complicated for me. It's already kind of a complicated topic because it looks different for every woman, but that's where I'm at.
Okay, so you walk into the store. What is, because I know you want to dress something that makes you feel happy. What's your intention? How do you want your day to be? You walk into the store, it has all the vintage things. What are a couple of rules that you look for? Like, it can't be too low. Just like, because like you said, it's a spectrum, but I know there are things that are off limits. So you walk into the world's largest vintage store. What is off limits?
Off limits. I'm not a huge, so I think a lot of like skirts, like the mini skirts, that's really in right now. But again, I'm pretty tall. And so I'm not against a mini skirt, but I feel like when I see a mini skirt, I'm like, I don't know if I'm gonna go there because it is really hard. Like I right now it's super in, like the mini dresses and the mini skirts. But for me, I just don't feel as comfortable when I'm wearing a mini skirt. Like I truly like that's no hate on girls that like mini skirts, but I find it hard to feel comfortable in it. And I don't know if it's because I'm a tall girl, but and maybe because I'm a mom, because those little kids they be getting in between my legs and like so I even when I have a dress on, girl, they will literally they're a lot. They can be a lot. But I for that reason, I try to stay away from the mini skirts. It's not my favorite thing to pick up. In terms of anything else that I would steer clear from, I don't think there's much else outside of that. I feel like I actually don't like to limit myself when I'm thinking of like what I would like to look at a store because I feel like you kind of like you don't open yourself up to everything that you might like. I think for me, I used to when I first started finding pieces that I really like to kind of build my closet. Um, I would always limit myself and think like, oh well, I'm not gonna wear that because it's gonna look bad on me. And I would just kind of like get the same thing. But once I started to see something like, oh, that doesn't look like something I would put on, whether it was the print or the shape or whatever, but let's try it on. Let's see what it looks like. And I feel like doing that kind of helped me to be more inspired and more creative in how I dress, especially with like shape and pattern and texture. Like I can go on about that kind of thing
Yes.
because a lot of people they'll ask me like, "Oh, like how do you get your eye for style and dresses and fashion?" And honestly, like I feel like it's just having fun with it. Like being a kid again. And I feel like that's really an ode to younger me because younger me was so insecure and so timid and not wanting to take risks. But like now, something as small as like the things that I wear, it's like fun to put something on and be like, oh, like I would have never put this on, but let's do it. Let's see how it works out. And I feel like I find at least the most like the most kind of like not outrageous. I don't want to use that word, but some of the things that I would have previously looked at and would have been like, "Oh, I would never put that on. That's like too much going on, whether it was the florals or the bows or whatever." Like now, like one dress I have, it's a white dress. It's like it has a big bow on the back, and
On the back, yes, I
on the
saw
back,
that.
yes, that
I
one.
love it.
I
I
love it, and
love that
when I
dress.
saw that online, I'm like, "Oh, that looks too much," but then I got it just in just to see what it would look like, and I'm like, "Oh, you know what? This is actually really, really pretty and really different." And so, I think that when I find something that's different, I'm like, "This is good," because I think that a lot of the times we want to conform to what's normal and what's not going to, get that many like, "Oh, what is that?" Or like, "Why are you wearing that?" kind of, perspective from other people. But now I'm like, just have fun with it. Like, your fashion should be fun and cool and true to you. And so being authentic to myself in that way has been really cool in this season.
I want to go back to something because you this is in another video, but you just talked about intention, like when you're getting dressed, intention, and then you also talked about perception or what people perceive you to be. I want to kind of go back to this idea of what you thought society wanted you to be because you talked about being hard.
Mhm.
In that era in your life, what did you think society, I guess, wanted you to be or wanted you to look like?
Yeah, I think that when someone does walk through something that is really hard, what it does is that I believe my defense mechanism was to become hardened. Like even when I was in school when all of that like stuff was happening, like I was pretty shy, but like I had a vocabulary that was like really bad. Like I was like dropping F bombs and like it was like my the way I speak today is so different, like light years away from the way that I would speak previously. And so I feel like when it came to my experiences, I felt like I needed to be hardened. But then when I would look and try to find the women that did look like me, from a public standpoint of like, okay, like where are the role models that look like me? Whether in music or in movies, like the image of, because I'm Latina, like the Latina representation at the time, especially, was just a very hardened like I don't need no man type of profile. It felt very different from the representation of our counterparts. Like it felt like when I would watch movies, like there's like Miss Honey, right? Like Miss Honey from Matilda. I don't know if
Matilda,
you ever
yes.
like it was just like that was like a character growing up. I was like, man, I want to be her. Like I was like, there's just something that attracted me to Miss Honey. She's I feel like she comes out a lot in like how I like pick certain dresses and things like that. But Miss Honey's like a perfect example, but like I can't think of a Latina Miss Honey. Like I can't think of like of a representation whether in a movie or in music of like a Latina woman or a black woman having this softness about her at the time. I believe now there's a lot of representation in that area. Growing up, I felt like my examples were women who seemed very like they would sing about sexuality and their bodies, and it felt very focused on sexuality. And I believe that Latinas, especially, we face a lot of sexualization. I believe the same goes for Black women as well. Like, there's a lot of sexualization and objectification of our community in movies and in music, and that would bother me a lot because of what I walked through. I'm like, why is it that we're being represented like this? And I hated it. Like, and I know that some women find empowerment in it, and that is no judgment or shade towards them at all. But I just wanted to see more representation of something other than that because I wasn't seeing that representation for our counterparts. And so I think now when I show up, not just in the day to day, but online, I'm thinking of that, of like, I'm really being the role model that I really craved as a kid. Like I would have loved to see, and I had my mom, and my mom is a really, she's also another pillar of just, she just exemplified, um, gentility and just, she's a really wonderful woman. But I think that when you're growing up, it's like your parents, like you kind of just want to see someone else who's not your parents kind of giving you lectures and things like that. And so um I found it hard at the time to like determine like what should I, or how should I be showing up in the world? Should I be showing up in the world in the way that music is saying that I am, in the way that movies are saying that I am? And it's interesting because I had a friend growing up actually that I had met her dad, and at the time I'm like 13. I'm telling you, everything bad happened at like 12, 13. But I was pretty young and I met her dad, and her dad was like, "Oh, like where are you from?" I'm like, "Oh, like I'm Dominican." And this man says to me as a child, looking back on it, I'm like, yeah, yeah, this is crazy, crazy. But like he tells me, "Oh, like I know how Dominicans are in bed." Like as a kid, like a grown man. And
You were
I was
13?
13. And so for a grown man to have told me that as a kid, it was like affirming that visual of like, are Latinas seen as just this? Like, could it just be this bin that they want to put us in? And so like I felt like that was like a a a a point that I was like, it made me kind of think, no, like there has to be something else than this, of just this one little box that they want to put us in. And so I feel like that kind of as an adult, it shaped the way that I do show up because I don't want to be put, I don't think anyone wants to be put in a box like that. I know. It's crazy. It's crazy. Isn't it crazy?
This was at this was said at your friend's house. Y'all were at your friend's house, your house?
I wanna say that so I was talking to her on the phone, and she kinda was like, "Oh, I'm talking to my friend Gabby," and then he said it, like, on, like, like, I could hear him say it, like, as I was, so it was like, I don't believe it was in person, but it was one of those moments, and I'm like, what is going on? What is going on? So that's why I feel like there is such a thing of like men truly have a lot of challenges, some men, but it's like it goes back to like knowing and recognizing that there are a ton of bad dudes out there, but then there's good dudes. And like we don't want to put them all together in the box. I definitely feel like looking back on it, I'm like, I should have said something. I should have said something, but I actually didn't say anything. I just kind of let it go, which is crazy. It's crazy to think about.
That okay. Are you if you don't mind me asking, what is Gab? You said Gabby, right?
Yeah, that's
What
one
is
of my friends call me.
no what was the ethnicity or the race of the friend that you were talking to?
So I believe her dad, I don't want to give too much away because I don't want to, but they present as white. Yeah,
Okay,
I'm gonna
that's
say
what I
presents as
okay.
white.
Which again, we're not making generalizations,
Hmm.
but I am. Should I use the word flabbergasted? You said that you were 13, right?
Yeah.
And just you and your friend were having a casual conversation, and in the
Mm-hmm.
background, you heard him. Did your friend say, I'm trying to, because we're talking about 13-year-old girls.
Yeah.
If that was a comment that he made with his friend group of 45-year-old men, fine. But he knew that his 13-year-old daughter was talking to her 13-year-old friend,
Mm.
and that's the comment that he chose to make.
Yeah.
Was he aware that you heard him?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And she had heard him too. And she kind of was like, Dad. But like, I mean, we were so young at the time, but I think that for me, it kind of showed me that there is a big problem with a lot of
Perception.
men and perception. It I feel like I feel like that in that context too, it made modesty for me harder too, kind of like walking through that because like do I need to like do I need to like protect myself like physically from like the men out there that are like just doing the most and saying the most craziest things and living the most craziest things. And I think now, like especially with what we're seeing now in the news, it's like I think that there is a bigger problem than we maybe even realize of in that way. Yeah, it definitely was very pivotal for me as a young person.
And it's clear that that comment stuck with you.
Yeah. And I think it's also like being a mom of a girl. it's awakened a sense of awareness and determination that there are a lot of problems right now, and I think the way that we do show up does matter as girls and as women, but, I think it's like, for me, I'm in this process of learning how to do that in a way that is the most beneficial for us and is, as a mom, like, for her life too, like, the example I'm setting for her, um, but it definitely does wake you up a little bit of, like, "What's going on?"
I, Gabriella, that is, I don't really have any words.
Yeah.
It's, your story is absolutely amazing. It's clear that you have been through a lot. It's very clear that you have overcome a lot, and you have a beautiful family and you have beautiful children. We were just wrapping this section up. When did you realize that that's what you did not have to be, or what you thought society was telling you that you had to be?
Because I was consuming content, and I still do, I love seeing and following other creators. It was really when I started following different creators that I began to realize that we are not just one bucket. I think
Okay.
that prior to social media and prior to, really creators taking a forefront of, being a form of, like, consumption for entertainment and all of those things. Before that, all we had was cable TV and what was on iTunes. And, like, I feel like what we had was really everything that kind of like the all of like the labels and the agencies and like all of like the Hollywood element. I feel like that's the representation that we had. But now in this new kind of world of social media, now Hollywood is kind of competing with what we're consuming now on TikTok and YouTube and Instagram. And that that has really provided not just for me, but to so many other women, representation that would not have been possible if it wasn't for the accessibility of just posting a video and you can see someone's life and their values and how they live. And that has been such a beautiful thing for me because I have been able to meet and follow so many beautiful women of color that aren't conforming to that one little itty box that I believe Hollywood wanted to put us in, truly. And so for me, that really showed me like there's more. There's more than the stereotypes.
Do you think you showing up with your authentic self has given women of color, white women, whomever, who were experiencing or thought that they had to be one thing, or what society told them to be, do you think you showing up your authentic self has given other women permission to do the same and given them
I
inspiration?
would hope so. That's my I feel like that's why I do what I do. And I think that when I read some of the messages of girls saying that I'm inspiring them and how how I've been able to touch their lives in some small way, I feel like that's all of the all of the inspiration that I need to continue making content because it's not easy. I think when you put yourself out there and there are so many people and negativity and voices, I feel like the easiest thing would be to stop posting. And for me, I've gotten to that point several times over the last several years. I'm like, should I keep going? Like, should I keep sharing my life? Because it is a lot of negativity that's drawn when you do share your life and you do share the good things that happen because I think there is a lot of pain and there is a lot of suffering. And so when people who are in pain, they see someone who is happy, I think naturally they don't want to see it. And so the safest thing to do would be to stop posting because it really is uncomfortable most times. But I think when I do get some of those messages, I'm like, this is why. This is why we need representation, especially what Covered is doing here. Like it is something beautiful and something so necessary.
Thank you. So let's move on to a controversial or a hot topic: trad wives. Traditional wives, trad wives. Do you consider yourself to be, or I think probably when people, because you also do cooking videos, and I'm pretty sure you've had several Nara Smith comparisons, But do you consider yourself to be a trad wife?
I actually don't, and I feel like it's very nuanced,
It
and there
is.
are a lot of reasons why I say that. I don't consider myself to be a trad wife in the sense of how it's being defined currently. I
Okay.
think that when the whole trad wife kind of buzzword began, it began with like Ballerina Farms and Nara Smith. And so I think that the uproar that that content caused, I feel like it exaggerated the trad wife idea, and I think that, a lot of creators, because it gets engagement, because people are commenting and it's causing rage, and creators are incentivized to
Not rage.
create. Yeah, it's like, so I think that because of all of the emotion surrounding the conversation, creators that do create trad wife content, they're and no shade towards them at all. I love watching some of their content because I love cooking and all those things, but I think because they are incentivized, in a way, because it's like it creates dialogue in the comments and their video gets boosted because of those
Engagement.
comments, engagements, and everything. I feel like unknowingly they've also created an even bigger divide between like the trad like what trad wife life really was before it became a buzzword, and then now what like it's being defined as, because now what it's being defined is like you're not working, like you marry rich, so you marry a rich guy, you marry a guy that gives you these things so you can have a lot of kids and live in dresses and live comfortably and have a beautiful house and have that beautiful life, but you don't have to lift a finger. And like, it's this like soft living, feminine. And like, I'm not against that at all. So that's why I'm kind of treading lightly here. But like, I feel like what it's created is this expectation that your life, in order for it to be traditional or to be God honoring or to be honoring in general, I feel like your life is being or life is being shown as like that's the ideal. Like the ideal is that you don't work and that your husband is the financial provider, and that system may work for some families, right? Like I believe that can be so beautiful. But I think that's something that I've spent a lot of time thinking about, especially in like in our context, right? Like I don't consider myself a trad wife because I do work, because I'm every day I'm working on content and spending when the kids are asleep, like I'm up like working and
You're
like
up
I think
editing,
the
doing
editing.
voiceovers.
Right, right. And answering emails and jumping on calls with brands, like that is nowhere near what trad wife life is. Like it's like I'm a like I'm work at this is work. And so I feel like to say that I'm a trad wife or to present myself in a way that is a wife and a mom that has a husband providing, and I feel like it would be misleading in a little bit of a way, because I am working and he's also working, and we're both sharing the domestic responsibilities with the kids and cooking and laundry. Like we are able to partner together in that way. And so I have found a hard time, like, kind of explaining in some ways of, like, online at least, like, "Hey, like, I know I like to cook, but, like, my husband also cooks, and I like to clean, but my husband also cleans," because then it feels almost performative. Like, it feels like if I show myself cooking, then I need to show him cooking, and I need to film him. I'm like, "Okay, wait, like, yeah, wait, can you, like, cut that a little bit slower so I can" like, it's just like, I don't want to perform in that way, I guess, and creators do it, they do it, but, like, I wanted to, kind of stay away from that label of, like, the trad wife stuff, because I generally feel like it can be very nuanced, because it's like, you can have a beautiful system with traditional that kind of traditional living, but then also, like, there are like, probably 50 factors to consider. It's like the mom's mental health, like, is she able to sustain that lifestyle of being home and not having the system that she may have had prior to having kids? Like, how's her mental health? How's her physical health? How's her husband's mental health, his physical health? How's his spiritual health? Like, he's providing, but like, is he providing financially in a way that's God honoring and not in a way that's abusive? Because a lot of women who do live traditionally, if their husband isn't spiritually healed, it could be like an abusive situation too. And so I feel like it is such a nuanced conversation. And like for that reason, I love when I see women living the life that they've dreamed of and they want. But I think that something that deters me from the label of trad wife life is that is like all it's like it comes with a lot of baggage, if you will.
I love your explanation. I have never been called a trad wife because I moved from corporate to content creation, but I just wanted to get your opinion on that because I know when, especially a first time watcher of your content, I know the Nara Smith comparisons, and then right after that, I know the traditional wife or the trad wife is going to follow. But you do not consider yourself to be a trad wife, so now we know.
Yeah, but it does make sense because like we were talking about, like I think because the representation is just recently in recent years started to develop, I believe for our community and like and not just being in that one box, that like with movies and music and all of that stuff, I feel like women who saw me online as a woman of color and wearing a dress and like it was almost like you are Nara Smith because Nara Smith is really the first woman of color to have the platform that she does, showing a life that isn't like the Cardi B's and the J Lo's of like the community representation that we have. And so I believe Nara Smith was the first, one of the first to do that. And so the comparisons do make sense. They annoy me a little bit, but they make sense. They make sense.
Okay, let's move on to one of my favorite topics, hair. Your hair is fabulous.
Thank
I
you.
want to get a little bit into it.
Thank you.
So, you said earlier that you are from the DR, so you consider yourself to be Latina. I am a black woman. And one of the things that I love talking about is just natural beauty. I always love to talk to women who have afro textured hair. I love them to embrace their curls, whether it's 3C all the way to the 4Cs. I wanted to have this conversation with you because you have gone through a bit of a transformation. I love the short bob you did have. Is it do y'all call it honey
Yeah, kind
blonde?
of like a honey. Yeah, like a
Okay.
honey
You had
blonde.
honey blonde curls. Those were luscious. These are beautiful. I think it suits you. But I wanted to have this conversation because you actually grew up with your curly hair and it was not, was it considered beautiful? How was curly hair perceived in your community or in your family?
Yeah, so Dominicans at the time, I think it's gotten a lot better, but at the time,
Okay.
curls were not seen as beautiful. They were seen as like a mess that needs to be fixed. So I actually, oh, I completely forgot that I actually brought a picture.
You bring a
I wanted
photo?
to show you a picture because I was like, I found this the other day and I was like, oh, like I would love to show my friend because this, when we were talking before, I was like, I feel like my hair now is like a reflection of my little self, and I feel like
The
it
little
like
girl bob.
see,
I
like,
love it. I
same
love
yeah,
it.
no, same, literally, like, my style now, it's like, I
Oh,
feel
so you
like
were say
it's the
in the
little kid.
dress, the
Yeah,
barrettes, the dress, it's the
it's the little
same.
kid in me, seriously, but this was my hair before, because I think I was around 5 here, but this was my hair really before I started going to the salon because people in my family, they tell my mom, "You need to fix her hair, like, her hair is all over the place." And I had, like, these beautiful, like, little ringlets, and so my mom, she would bring me to the salon, and, like, the Dominican salon specifically
Oh
has some
no.
challenges, and so I, would go and they would, like, immediately, like, 4 or 5 women, like, hovering around me like, "Oh, no, like, this needs to go, like, we need to put some," like, they wouldn't call it a perm, they would call it, like, some other kind of term that made it
A
sound
treatment or
nicer, but
something.
they would, like, tell my mom that, like, keratin treatments and, like, a bunch of different names for different treatments, right? So, my mom, she would let them put things in my hair to, like, straighten the curls a little bit, and it really destroyed them, like, obliterated the curls for years. It was like that, for until I was in high school. So, I would go to the salon every 2 weeks as a kid and straighten my
You were
hair
getting Dominican blowouts every 2 weeks?
every 2 weeks. Yeah,
How old were you?
so the every 2 weeks started a little bit not when I was 5, I must have been around 9 or 10, around there, because it was like my hair was more presentable when it
Okay.
was straight, and that's to no fault of my mom. I think she was just doing what her culture and
Right.
community was telling her, but I think there was this expectation of like your hair needs to be straight in order for it to be presentable. And so I think that was like for me, it was like, well, why is the way that my hair grows out of my scalp, like why is it attracting so much like negativity? Like this is just my hair that, and so it made me feel like there was just something inherently wrong. Not just with me because of all my other baggage, but like now my hair, like, oh, now my hair's a
Right.
problem
One
too.
more thing that's wrong with me.
One more thing, right. And so when I started my natural hair journey, it felt really healing to me because it was like, no, like we're going to embrace this. We're going to work on this and water this garden. And when I started that in high school and my curls were gone. So it was all like strangly and pinch right. And so I started to do a lot of slick backs, a lot of braids, and slowly but surely my hair started to grow and the damage started to come off and I would get it trimmed and the Dominican women did not like it in the salon. They were like, you're going out there looking a mess. I just hope you know that." And I'm just like,
Oh my
I just
goodness.
want my curls to come back. And it was really tough in the beginning. I think when you're transitioning, it's really hard because your curls aren't there. And so it's kind of this transitionary period. But like for me, it was like, we're doing this. Like this, that felt physically healing to my hair, but it also felt healing to me as a person because it's like now and I know a lot of women have that same story. It's like this like healing thing to you because you're being true to you and you're not doing what society is telling you to do, what your culture is telling you to do. And so that was really one of the first times in my life that I was like, I am doing this and it's healing me. And I think that journey was so beautiful, and my hair got really long. My hair was really curly and really long. I was using box dye for many years because I love my thing was like, I love Zendaya, and so Zendaya's hair, I was like, "I
Okay.
love her hair color. I would love to, like, have that kinda." And I believe her hair is naturally that, like, lighter brown, but, like, for me, I would just kinda use box dye because I was like, "I love Zendaya." And so I, was using that for many years, and then after I got tired of the box dye, I was like, "Well, I kinda want my natural color again." And so that's when I decided to go short because I just chopped off all of the color treated portions of my hair. And so that's kind of where the bob came, and I'm having fun, but I'm growing it out now.
I was just getting ready to ask you because we were talking prior to this conversation, so you're going to grow it back out.
Yes. Yes, I'm so excited. I'm, like, using all the oils and all the, like, the things, and I think that because my hair is not color treated for the first time in a long time, I feel like it's gonna be really special to see my hair in, like, just, like, in its natural element and not changed in some way because it's like when you've lived, like, 15 years, most of my life has been, like, treated hair, whether it was chemically treated for the texture or color treated after that when I did go natural. Like, this is the first time that my hair hasn't been sitting with some kind of alteration, and that feels so good.
So well, first of all, are you going to do the box dye again?
I'm never doing box dye
Okay.
again. Never.
While you were going through your transition and embracing your beautiful curls, did you have any support? I'm pretty sure there were people who were looking at you like you were crazy, but was there anybody supporting you?
Was there anyone supporting me? I
Or did
My
they all
mom
just
didn't
think you
get
were
it.
crazy?
My mom didn't say much about it.
Okay.
She wasn't, like, anti, like, "Oh, like, you need to, like, wrap it up." Like, she wasn't that, but, like, I had other family members that were very vocal about it, and they were like, "Yeah, this is, you gotta go back to the salon and do something with your hair." So looking back on it, I don't think I had anyone supporting me, but, you know what I did have? I did have the content creators online because I would watch, like, Sunkissed Alba. She was, like, one of my favorite creators, at the time for natural hair. Like, I would watch all her natural hair videos. There's Chelly's Curls. She's also amazing. Before I was a creator myself, those were the creators that really inspired me to embrace my curls. And so while I didn't have support in like the actual, like in my vicinity, I found that support in the creators online and in their comments and people writing about their same experiences. So for me, that was my support.
Okay. Does your daughter have curly hair?
Yes, she has
She
super curly hair.
and she's 15 and she comes to you and says, "Mother, we need to talk. I saw a video with the Dominican salon. Can we go?" What is your answer?
Yeah, I feel like I would be on board for whatever she wants to do, but what I do want of her is to love it as it is naturally. I think I'd be on board for whatever she would want to do. What I would tell her would be to love it as it is, though. I think that some natural hair women, they might like kind of look down on women that want to straighten their hair. And I feel like I would never want to do that. Like I think if a woman wants to straighten her hair, that's okay, but I think as long as you love what you look like naturally, I think that's really the root. It's like you can straighten your hair. Like I straighten my hair from time to time too, but I try to be careful with like why I'm doing it, like what my intentions are. Like, do I feel better as a person if my hair is straight. Because at the time, like when I was younger, like I'd be scared to go to the beach. Like I'd be scared to go to be invited to a pool party because I was just that ashamed of my curly hair. And so I would never want that for my daughter. Like I would love if she embraced her hair and loved her hair. And as long as she did that, like I feel like anything else would be okay.
We are coming to the end. What I like to do, or something new that I'm starting at the end, is just like these fun rapid fire questions. So, are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right. Your favorite place to shop?
My favorite place to shop. Oh, am I that ready? I don't have one specific place. I am everywhere, but I think if I had to name one place, I love me a sale. I really do. And I love finding quality pieces. So Nordstrom Rack, I'm a Rack girl. I'm a Rack girl. I know some girls may not like the Rack, but I love the Rack because the things you find, and it feels one of a kind because a lot of the times it's just one on the rack. And I think that when you find quality pieces and it's on sale, girl, like, yes.
Whose closet are you stealing? I heard you say I heard you mention Zendaya, but if you today, right now, if you could pull up to somebody's house in their closet, whose closet are you stealing?
Oh, I do love Zendaya, but my mom, my credit, if you met my mom is such a fashion icon. I like, love, love, love when she's like, "Yeah, like, I'm not wearing these that much, you can have it." Like, a lot of what I wear is from my mom,
Okay.
actually. So she's like, if she one day was like, "You can have my closet," like, I might as well have won a lottery. That woman has so many if you think I have a good eye, she has a better eye. Like, she's amazing. I love her.
I love that you want to steal your mother's closet. Okay. If you had to wear one piece in your closet for the rest of your life, what would it be?
One piece. Um there's this robe that I have. I'm always wearing it. I know if someone watches my content, they probably know. It's like this blue robe. I found it on Etsy one day and I was like, I love
I
this
love Etsy.
thing. It's so cozy and it makes me feel like a princess when I wake up. I feel like I would wear that for the rest of my days if I could. It is so comfortable. It's like, have you seen it's like a blue velvet kind of like duster. It goes like all the way to like my
Yes, I've seen it.
ankles.
Yes,
I
the
love
blue
that
one.
thing. I love that thing. I always like
Okay.
always have it on. That's like the one thing I'd have on.
Okay. What era in fashion would you go back to?
Era. I love being able to pull different things from different time periods. Like the Victorian era is so beautiful to me. Like I feel like the quality of clothes back then must have been insane. But I don't know if I would go back to a specific era per se because I love to grab and pull from different eras because I feel like there's no better time than the present and it feels cool to be able to like pull things from different eras and then put it together to make something new, you know?
Okay. And last one, favorite hair care products. What are you living for right now?
Hair care products. I right now, it's not I am currently working with them, but Aveda is really like it's the first hair care brand that I used when I started going natural. And I'm using it to this day after all of these years. And so I don't say this just because I'm working with them because it was for me it was one of the first products I used and it was the first that worked. And so Aveda, I would say for sure is one of those brands that they really know here. And it does I believe it's a little bit more pricier than other hair brands, but I think that when you are looking for something that's going to be good for your hair and quality for your hair, Aveda really is one of my favorite ones.
Okay. Is it the new one of the newer ones is like in this really pretty green bottle? Is it Be Curly Advanced? Have you used that yet?
Be Curly Advance. I don't know. I'm not using that currently, but That sounds familiar. I feel like I must have used it before, but right now I'm into their, like, botanical line. It's so and they all their products smell like a spa. It feels like you're going to a spa when you use the products, and so I haven't been to a spa in a minute. I've been super, super busy, and, it can be pretty expensive to do with spas, but, like, that's, like, my little version of a spa. It's like, oh, like, using a Veda in the shower for my hair routine, like, call it a spa.
Okay. And then lastly, Gabriella, there is a young woman out there who is struggling to find herself, or maybe she is feeling pressure to act, dress, or behave a certain way. What is your advice to that young lady?
There is freedom from removing yourself from people's expectations of you. I think that for me, for so many years, I felt tethered and chained to what people wanted of me. And I didn't realize how simple, not easy. It's not easy because it definitely is challenging, but it's a simple task of removing yourself from it. There's this example that I love, really, really brief example. It's what I believe I forget the country, but there's a training process for elephants. I don't know if you've heard of it before. But, elephants, the way that they get them to be, like, tamed older, like, as older, bigger elephants with so much strength, like, they're massive, like, they can do anything probably. They keep them tied to a rope as a little kid, like a little baby elephant. They'll tie them to the rope, and that little baby elephant can't remove themselves because they're so little. And so they try to move from the rope and they can't. And so these trainers, what they do is that they keep them on that rope until they grow older and older. And even when they reach the point of development where they have the strength to remove themselves from the rope, they in their minds, they believe what they were trained to believe as little ones, that they can't come off of that rope. And I think in a lot of ways, we're trained to be a kind of way, whether by our pain or our experiences or trauma. And it creates this mental barrier of you can't do something. And I know I felt that for so many years was I can't do that. Like I am this. And I think that taking the steps to heal and taking the steps to learn how to show up more authentically and be myself and to show up more for myself, it has helped me realize that we can come off the rope. Like we don't have to stay there. And I'm still learning and I'm still growing, but I think there's hope for everyone. Everyone is no one is too far gone or too far past that point of redemption because I know I thought I was. And so, God is good. God is really good, and I think that when we ask him for help, he always does. And so he really is at the forefront of who I am today, and, that's what I would say to her.
I love that, Gabriella. You are such an amazing woman. You are
Oh,
such a
thank you.
light. Lastly, do you have anything coming up that you want the community to know about, and where can people follow and support you?
I'm currently working on something really exciting. Because I'm so passionate about, like, little finds and not just dresses, but also things that make life feel a little bit more inspiring and exciting. I'm working on creating some products for home, like home decor kind of things, and so they're like little trinkets, but I'm really excited about it because, it's really the starting point of where I'd like to be, and like my I'm a big plants girl, so I have a lot of plans for development for products and things like that in the next like decade. I would love to get to that point of making my own brand and getting to that point. So I'm really excited to start that now. And where someone can find me, I'm on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok. I have a lot of fun showing dresses and things that I'm doing and things that are inspiring me. So that's where you can find me.
So, like I said before in the beginning, Gabriella, thank you so much for having this conversation and sharing your story. All of Gabriella Danelle's information will be down below, and I will see everybody next time.
Thank you
Bye.
so much. Thanks,
Of
Mike.
course.